I grew my jaw over 15 millimeters from this to this. And not only did it work for me, it also worked for Martin, Chakman, Micah, Will, Lily, Victoria, and thousands of others. This isn't a gimmick, this is a real proven method that targets the actual root cause, your health. Remember, the only reason that we find anything attractive in the first place is because it is healthy. We are animals at the end of the day. If you have a more forwardly grown jaw, you have a more projected maxilla, which means you have better posture and better breathing and therefore live longer. So let's get straight into this video. No lies, no scams, straight to the point, gold dust. We're going to be going over a 3-step mechanism to improve the forward projection of your jaw. This mechanism is going to be firstly by developing the muscles within your face, secondly by loosening the fascia, and finally by rewiring your passive habits. We're going to call it the MFP method. I just came up with that on the spot, but it's catchy, so let's go with it. First step, let's develop the muscles in your face. How are we going to do this? And why does this matter? Well, muscles in your face directly influence your bone structure, and in many ways they are more important than your bones. The reason why some people have more forwardly projected mandibles relative to others with similar genetics, or if you look at twins where one's better looking, or even if you look at people who don't get braces and then do get braces, or get teeth extractions and don't get teeth extractions, all of these supplementary factors is because they prioritize the muscles within your face. If you develop the masters and you activate the masters while you swallow, chew, and breathe and maintain these passive habits, then that is going to create mechanical tension. That is going to generate osteoblasts, and as a byproduct, that is going to directly affect your bone structure. The easiest and quickest way to grow your jaw is by changing the musculature in your face, and this is a really underrated topic, but it is very, very important. And obviously, you can train the muscles in your face just like you can in your body. And the 3 most important muscles to develop your jaw further forwards are firstly the master muscle, the strongest muscles within your body and the most foundational, which I'm going to explain how to do in a second. Secondly, of the digastric muscle, which is just behind your jaw, which is important for pushing everything forwards and maintaining function. At the same time, we also have the mentalis muscle in your chin, which if it gets overactivated can negatively impact forward growth because it will prevent a proper lip seal, it will create negative habits, and it will kind of mess everything up. So how do we activate the master muscle? Well, this is very easy, my friends. This is very easy. Firstly, you need to deactivate the buccinator and the temporalis. And I know I'm throwing a load of weird words at you, but just stay with me. Basically, when you chew, you can choose to activate, or you can't choose, but you will activate inevitably both the master and the temporalis, and also the buccinator a tiny bit. Obviously, each muscle serves a purpose, otherwise it wouldn't exist on your body. But as a byproduct of modern day cooked habits, most of us prioritize temporalis engagement too much in comparison to master engagement. The same with buccinators. So you need to make sure that you are getting more mind-muscle connection with your masters, that you're chewing functionally and properly, and that you're chewing harder foods. Firstly, if you want to develop your masters, chew harder food, chew more meat. This is the base of a human diet, and the reason why we've degenerated in the first place is because we have a soft, modern, ultra-processed diet, and therefore children don't breathe, chew, and swallow properly, and therefore they have these negative habits. We wouldn't have to do any of this if we all had perfect habits, lifestyle, diet, environment from birth, but we didn't, so we don't. So let's lock in, people. So how do we chew properly? Well, the foundational thing that I want you to test out, then this isn't the way that you should always chew, but this is just to get the mind-muscle connection, is I want you to frown a bit while you chew. If you do that, you will begin to understand. You'll see my masters activate when I do that. You'll gain more mind-muscle connection because this deactivates the orbicularis oris and then kind of forces master activation. But you'll get a feel for it. If you do that for 1 to 2 minutes a day while chewing harder food, you will develop more mind-muscle connection with your masters. And therefore, when you chew throughout the day, you will also choose and subconsciously activate the masters a bit more. If you combine this with also relieving tension, this is the most important thing. Along with chewing harder foods and doing that frowning exercise, you also need to be relieving the tension, because if you haven't activated your masters that much, and then you begin to suddenly activate them properly all of a sudden, you will generate tension. You will stress the temporal mandibular joint, you will stress the fascia, and you will be shifting your body out of its own natural habits, even if they are bad habits. So make sure that you're massaging your jaw, make sure that you're doing some form of lymphatic drainage throughout the day, just to relieve some fascia and some pressure, and this is the very easiest way to begin activating the masters. The second muscle to activate is the digastric muscle. You can simply just use a breathing device, or you can do some form of kind of fish lips face, but if you can kind of make this face and breathe in, you will activate your digastric muscle. You can do this either using a breathing resistance device, or you can also use other things like a balloon, or you can even just focus on heavy mewing while in this position, putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth, creating that position, and then breathing deeply through your nose. If that's easier and you can't get a hold of the breathing device, this will activate the digastric muscle. And then in order to deactivate the mentalis muscle, which is the negative muscle, which will make your chin further recessed and negatively impact your lip seal, which will then push everything further back, You simply just need to wear Mentalis tape, a X-shaped piece of tape that you wear on your chin, which will positively deactivate the mentalis muscle, literally just subconsciously, because it will force it to be slightly harder and your body will take the path of least resistance, and that will activate the correct muscles. Now, that seems easy, but genuinely, this is the most underrated thing. If you actually chewed properly, if you actually activated the correct muscles, this will change your face in a matter of weeks. I'm not joking. And that is the most important step. Secondly, we move on to the fascia, which is exceptionally important as well. If you don't have loose fascia, then the muscles can't stretch and they can't adapt, and the results won't be permanent and everything won't shift. So if you're not seeing results from doing just the basics, then that is probably because you have tight fascia, and nearly everyone has tight fascia, to be quite frank. And the fascia is a layer of connective tissue that runs throughout your entire body from your feet to your head. The fascia in your neck and your head area is called the epicranial fascia, and the base of loosening the fascia is through two techniques. And I'm actually going to explain one technique that I've never ever mentioned before. What I want you to do is, rather than just stretching your tongue in the way that I've said in other videos, you're actually going to take your finger, stick your tongue out as far forward as possible like this. You'll see my jaw gets activated anyway when you do that. You should be able to activate your masses when you do that. You're going to stretch it as far as possible, hold it 10 seconds forward, hold it 10 seconds to the left, and hold it 10 seconds to the right, and repeat it twice. And as easy as the sounds, you are literally going to feel your masters have this tension. You're going to need to massage after, because your tongue is the base of your epicranial fascia. This will loosen the fascia and this will rewire things. And the second thing to combine all of this with is thumb pulling and chin tucking. Now, this is a method, I'm trying to find my own scientific study for this. I'm really pushing this. I think it's amazing. I think it's one of the most foundational things that anyone can possibly do. And I think it is the most powerful recorrective technique. And the purpose is to loosen the fascia in the mid-palatal suture through putting your thumbs in your palate, while also activating the neck muscles which support your head. I've got various videos on my channel. You can check that out. I'm not going to waste your time with rehashing content that I've already talked about, but those are the ways to loosen the fascia. So we're really cooking. And by the way, if you don't believe any of this and you're not having faith, well, here are some more transformations. You need to understand this. There are thousands of transformations now. It's getting undeniable. You know, the logic behind all of this is very well shown. I've got hundreds of studies that I've linked within my school community if you want to join and check it out. At the same time, if you join the community, you can send me a direct message if you're struggling or you want advice or even just want to understand this stuff a bit more in depth. I've got full guides inside. You'll have full access to me. You'll be able to speak to me on calls directly. I do 2 Q&A calls a week. You'll be able to message me directly whenever. There's other people within the community, like-minded people that will hold you accountable. There's a habit tracker. There's access to thousands of dollars worth of glow up challenges. You have really no reason not to take action. And health is the only thing that's a catalyst for every aspect of your life. If you look better and you feel better, you'll get more opportunities, you'll make money back super easily, and you'll become the best version of yourself in every aspect. And obviously looks isn't the end goal, but it's a really powerful tool. So just a side note, but I think that is important to say. Now, moving on, we have the final pillar, which is your passive habits. And obviously this is the base of everything. If we all ate properly, if we all had perfect habits from birth, we wouldn't have to do any of this, but we didn't, so we don't. And the most important thing to understand, God, I keep saying that a lot throughout this video, don't I? The most important. I'm a melon, but we move on. The most important thing to understand is all of this should be temporary. You shouldn't have to thumb pull. You shouldn't have to do any myofunctional exercises. You shouldn't have to do any of this for more than a couple months. That is not the purpose. If you do it all properly for a couple of months and you actually know what to do and you have a personalized routine, you nail it, you will get to the point where you don't have to do anything. And the only way that you don't get to that point where you can stop and where you can relax and where you can just become the best version of yourself is if your habits aren't good enough. If you improve, if you recorrect, you will get to a point where you're happy. If you can then combine that with having good passive habits, you will see permanent results without having to do anything. Your tongue will act as your natural retainer. It will maintain the width of your jaw. It will maintain your face, and it will maintain your habits. If you don't, then everything reverts, everything falls back, and you get cooked. Now, the 4 key habits are chewing, swallowing, breathing, and posture. And they are all very easy to recorrect as long as you are conscious of it. And the one I want to talk about the most, which I haven't really ever talked about, is your breathing. Now, this is very important. You need to maintain a base breathing pattern of 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Not only will this loosen your fascia, because your breath is the base of your fascia, but this will also mean that you can reset your nervous system. When you breathe deeply, your posture becomes better, you activate the correct muscles, and the breath will also loosen your sutures, which will mean the results that you see from everything else will become even more efficient. So I think this is very important. Not only should you be maintaining that base breath pattern, which will obviously affect your posture, etc. And I've already mentioned chewing at the beginning of this video. You should also be doing some breath work at least 2-3 times a week. It's very easy to do, but a decent breathwork routine that actually loosens your sutures, that actually relaxes you, which means that you wake up more effectively, you stay in parasympathetic, and you do all of these beneficial things to calm your body, I think is very, very important. And I think that's the most important habit to maintain, to learn, to therefore get better and better without having to do anything. Your breath is the key and the foundation of all of this. So that's the last thing. If you do that kind of MFP method, you'll grow your jaw forward very easily. The most important thing is consistency. Don't expect to see results tomorrow, but honestly, you can expect to see results within weeks, and then you'll see even better results within months, and all of these effects will compound. This isn't a bonus. This isn't about, doing something superficial. This is actually a necessity. This is just as foundational. Your structural health is just as important as what you put into your body, as your diet, as your lifestyle, and as everything else. So don't neglect it, take action. If you want to speak with me directly, if you want to learn how to implement all of this stuff in your life and you want to make this as easy, beneficial, and productive as possible, you can join the community, message me with Inside, and have an amazing day. You're all legends. See you in the next one.